Over the past week or two, Fallout 4 has been getting a lot of really cool weapon or really just combat focused in general mods. A lot of particularly nice ones that I think you guys are going to want to download. Naturally, as you probably guessed, in this video I'm going to be showing you most of those good releases, a lot of the interesting things that really stood out to me, as well as a couple of other pretty cool mods mixed in to hopefully have quite a few nice additions to your load order. If you guys enjoy the Fallout 4 content, you can leave a like or subscribe. I actually have quite a few videos in the works that I think you should be looking forward to and will enjoy. But with all that being said, let's first take a look at the MA37 ICWS and the BR55. Yeah, that title was a little bit of a mouthful. What this is actually going to be is a 2-weapon weapon pack of 2 Halo-themed weapons. Well, not really just Halo-themed, literally weapons that appeared in the Halo series of games, but were recreated for Fallout 4. For those of you immediately drawing comparisons between this and the Misraya Armory, these are actually by the same mod author, just outside of the original pack. So if you played any of the more modern, very popular Halo games, these probably look pretty familiar. Taking a look first at the MA37 ICWS, you might be like, wait, that looks familiar. That's like the Halo assault rifle. Yes, but not really. It's actually an upgraded version of this Halo assault rifle that you're probably used to seeing. The MA37 first appeared in Halo Reach, and as it appears in Fallout 4, it's a pretty well done and interesting weapon. It has a variety of interesting attachments as well as cool receivers, such as having an integrated suppressor on it. You get assigned some different scopes, a flashlight, different bullet types to actually change the damage output of this thing, and functionally it's actually pretty fun to use. It's kind of a typical assault rifle that is comparable to some of the other assault rifles in Fallout 4. Compared to the rest of the Misraya Armory, this certainly feels a bit more modern and almost futuristic compared to some of the other ones, and although that weapon definitely is cool, by far my favorite from this is going to be the BR55. This is one of the most iconic weapons from all of Halo and probably one of the most fun to use in game. It first appeared in Halo 2 and functions as a burst fire battle rifle, and often was just referred to as the battle rifle. I would say one of the coolest parts about this one's implementation into Fallout 4 is the gameplay actually feels nigh identical to what it felt like in Halo 2, 3, and onwards. You get assigned the exact same scope with magnification to the point where it actually looks identical when you're zoomed down, and just between that, the recoil, and the burst fire itself, it is really satisfying to use and really brings you back to those old Halo days. Outside of that, just in general in Fallout 4, it has several other modification options. You can modify the barrel length, some of the various scopes you want to use with this one, and of course both of the weapons in this pack do feature custom animations as well as working ammo counters. All in all, this is a really good pack to add to your game. If you're already using the Misraya Armory, this obviously is an easy add-on to that to even flesh things out further, but even let's say you didn't like that full weapon pack adding in so many weapons and you want a more condensed experience, this is still a great addition to Fallout 4 with 2 high quality and fun to use weapons. But then outside of that, we also do have Badlands. This is going to be a pretty comprehensive landscape retexture mod for Fallout 4. And really, to break it down in its simplest form, what this mod's going to do is change the look of the ground, whether that be some of the foliage, the rocks, or even just the dirt or grass itself. As you could probably guess from the title of this one with Badlands, it is meant to be around a desert theme and make the game feel and look quite a bit more like a desert. I'm showing you the mod by itself in the background so you can just kind of gauge the difference it will make, although there are several other recommended mods to go along with it, and after installing some of those you do get a bit of a different experience, and I would say it all around comes together to look pretty nice. And really, mods like this are pretty subjective. Do you like what you're seeing in the background? I personally do. I actually think it's a pretty cool way to substantially change up the look and feel of Fallout 4's Commonwealth. And I would say with this one in particular, unlike some of the other desert overhaul mods, it actually has a more profound effect. It doesn't just turn everything into sand and palm trees, but actually more of that kind of red texture. And even though I'm showing you only certain areas of this, there's actually quite a bit of variety in how this mod will change up and modify some of the various biomes in Fallout 4. And with this mod in particular, to me it just felt like a bit more of a change up compared to certain other environmental mods that you can already download. Not too long ago, Fallout 4 got its first bow and arrow mod release, that with the LString bow. I've talked about how it's one of my favorite mods for this game, and it just feels so unique and different. It's very satisfying to use. Well, we actually got a mod for a mod with the LString bow holster pack. This is actually going to be an expansion on the original mod, giving you several armor pieces that you can apply to your character. Several of these are actually just going to be the bow and a quiver itself. This does have visible weapon support, so if you want to customize it to make it so you have it on your back, then when you take out your weapon, it will actually disappear from your back, you can do so. But just in general, this looks pretty cool. All of the bows you put on your back have several different customization options, so you could really get it to match exactly what you're holding with the LString bow itself. And although you can just use it and hold it on your back like this, this in some of the different configuration options. Even further, you could actually set it so it looks like it's held on a backpack, since a lot of people already use various backpack mods for Fallout 4. So although that is definitely cool, what I would actually say is my favorite part about this mod is just the standalone quiver you could have as an armor piece. To me, this just looks really cool. It really does make it feel like you are actually using a bow and arrow. And if you're going for either a stealthy or maybe a survival take on your character, I would say this is a great addition to it. The LString bow in and of itself is awesome, but this is definitely a great add-on to get even a little bit more out of that awesome weapon mod. But speaking of being stealthy or going for a stealthy character in Fallout 4, we also do have Stealthy Takedowns. This mod's actually really simple. You probably played other games where after sneaking up behind an enemy, you actually can do an execution attack, and well, it's basically going to add that into Fallout 4. If you sneak up to an enemy, you'll now have a new option to do a stealthy takedown, and it will take the enemy down, and then you continue on your stealthy journey. One of the cool parts about this mod, although it being very simple, is actually the way in which it's integrated. You won't just have this as a new option. You have to have the first level of the Sneak and the Mr. Sandman perks if you want to actually start being able to use this. But also pretty cool, even though you'll have access to it then when you have just the first level of Sneak and Mr. Sandman, taking down an enemy will actually create a noise. Although it's a stealthy takedown, it's not a totally silent one. That is, unless you get your Sneak perk up to level 4, wherein after stealthily taking down some of these enemies, the takedown won't be attributed to you. It overall is actually just a really cool mod in Fallout 4. It actually works quite well with that bow and arrow mod, and it certainly makes the combat in a stealth character overall have a bit more versatility and just be a bit more fun. But then we have a particularly cool and unique weapon mod, something a little bit different than what we typically see with Fallout 4, and that is going to be the M2 Flamethrower Redux. What this is going to do is, as you could probably guess, add in a flamethrower into Fallout 4. Fallout 4 already has a flamethrower. Many past Fallout games have featured flame weapons of some kind, but this mod's going to add in that kind of true to form flamethrower, what you probably envision when you picture a flamethrower weapon in your head or what you see in some other wars or video games. And yeah, just in general, it's really cool. When you equip this weapon, it actually will attach a little backpack to your character, that being the fuel tank for the flamethrower. There's going to be some basic modification options. You could actually change the muzzle, which will have a fairly large impact on the range of the flame you are shooting. You could also change the fuel type. That will have some variations in how much damage this can do. When you use napalm, it'll actually stack the flames, so it'll do quite a bit more damage if you kind of just stay on one enemy concurrently. I also really like the way this one's implemented. You'll only be able to find this flamethrower on gunners, except for 2 unique variants that are somewhere in the Commonwealth. Both of these look particularly cool. It's exactly what you'd hope for in a unique variant. I don't want to spoil too much with them, but it's definitely a nice addition that I did appreciate. And that's really it. It's actually a relatively simple weapon mod, but just due to the novelty and simply how much fun it is to use in game, I would say it's worth a download. I also really like how it's just implemented into the level list, how you'll just one day start finding gunners with these things, and they can be pretty formidable. As you can see in the background, you can be pretty devastating with this flamethrower, and trust me, other NPCs can be also. But then last but not least, we do have Zero Suit Samus. This of course adding in the iconic outfit from the Zelda series of games. That was actually a joke, but I bet a decent chunk of you immediately went to the comments to correct me. The outfit from the Metroid series of games now in Fallout 4. This is actually a really simple mod. What it's going to do is add in this outfit from the chemistry station. There's a couple of minor variations on this, one of the versions being more true to how it appears in the Smash Bros series, but largely all of them have a pretty similar aesthetic, and yeah, that's kind of the entire mod. I figure a decent subset of you would want this on your character. There's not too many features with this one, but even the mod author recognizes that, mentioning how it's mostly going to be used for pictures, and that's his original intention right now, although future updates should add more to this. So yeah, a relatively simple one that I'm sure some of you will really like, and I wanted to include just at the end of this video. So although that's going to wrap it up for the Fallout 4 mods part of this video, before we end things off, I do want to share today's psychology fun fact of the day. So just recently, there's been a couple of tragedies and people arguing that video games could be a potential source of them. I really don't want to get too into this, but as far as the actual merit of those claims, there have been decades of research on a correlation and specifically a causation of violent video game consumption on violent behavior in real life. And of all the peer-reviewed articles I've read on this, not a single one has found that violent video game consumption will cause violent behavior in real life. Some have found that while consuming high levels of violent media, it does lead to higher levels of aggression in people, but not causally. That's just a correlation, which is very different. There could be some kind of third variable causing both of those things. I'll have a link to some of these down below if you want to read them for yourself, but really the point I wanted to make with this psych fun fact is actually how you could find some of this information for yourself. There's a really easy to use website known as PubMed that is an invaluable resource. Basically is just a bunch of scientific articles. You type in the topic you're curious about, you can customize some of the search results and find some information, factual information, not something just reposted on social media that who knows the accuracy of. But also one point I really want to emphasize with this when looking at some of these articles is actually being able to replicate them. There have been numerous groundbreaking scientific findings. A couple of years ago in psychology, somebody seemingly found a way to increase your IQ. But lo and behold, even though their original study seemed pretty sound, after years of trying, nobody was actually able to replicate those findings, which naturally does cast a bit of doubt on that original finding, and rightly so. So my real point with this is, if you're gonna go look up some of these articles, just remember, finding one study proving one thing doesn't actually prove something. You wanna see other studies replicating those same results under similar or identical conditions before you start to take it as a fact or even close to that. But either way, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. As always, again, I thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. But with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.